Hello, sports fans. It's me, Sportsman Z, Bob Zolke, and I'm here with the second in my series of videos about the 25 worst players that are in the Baseball Hall of Fame. And again, the article was in Stadium Talk, and it was by Paul Ledusky. And in the previous video that I did 25 through 16. So today we're going to be doing players 15 through 6. And again, let me just jump right into it. Let's get going with this. And number 15 on the list was catcher Rick Farrell. He played 18 seasons, and I believe he was mostly on the Indians. I want to say the Indians, I think, maybe. His statistics per 162 games were a 281 batting average, 2 homers, 63 RBIs, and 2 stolen bases. He had a 2.90 WAR, and again, I discussed in the other video, WAR stands for wins above replacement, but I don't have the time to discuss what wins above replacement is in this video. But now that I think about it, that might be something that might be a good video to do, something about advanced statistics, analytic statistics. But anyway, and he was a 7-time All-Star. So, I mean, the man was a catcher. He hit his average season basically was a 281. Now the 2 home runs, that's kind of low. The 2 home runs and the 63 RBIs, that's not too bad for a catcher. So I don't know. I mean, as far as catchers go, are you going to see a lot of catchers in the Hall of Fame that are better than him? A few for sure. I mean, Pudge was just put in a couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago, but I don't think you're going to see a lot of catchers in there with statistics better than that. So I don't know. But then again, there's no quota for, what position has to have how many players either. So, number 14 is Jim Bottomley, first baseman Jim Bottomley. He played 16 seasons, and his statistics per 162 games were a 310 batting average with 18 home runs and 116 RBIs and 5 stolen bases. He was the 1928 National League MVP, but he declined sharply after the age of 30. Still, per 162 games, a 310 batting average and 18 home runs isn't too bad. But first base and third base are power offensive positions, so probably as far as other first basemen in the Hall of Fame go, he probably doesn't stack up favorably, I could imagine. The next guy, number 13, is Burley Grimes, pitcher Burley Grimes. He pitched 19 seasons in the major leagues, and per 162 games, he was 16-13 with a 353 earned run average and 255 innings pitched. He had a 2.85 WAR, and the guy that wrote the article, Paul Ledusky, said that he was more durable than dominant. And I guess the 353 earned run average attests to that, because you do see pitchers in the Hall of Fame with ERAs down in the low 3s and even in the 2s. So to have a 353, you're kind of getting up there. Number 12, surprisingly, this might surprise some people, but number 12 was Lou Brock, outfielder, mainly for the Cardinals, although he started his career with the Cubs. Per 162 games, he hit 293 with 9 home runs, 56 RBIs, and 58 stolen bases. So the man averaged more stolen bases per a regular season than he did RBIs. He had a 2.81 WAR. But the guy that wrote the article, Paul Ledusky, said that he commented on the fact that he only had 4 stellar seasons, but he was lacking other than outside of those 4 seasons. So I don't know. I mean, he's the all-time stolen base leader, 293 lifetime batting average. That's not bad. So I don't know. I think that's another guy, just like with the last video. Who was it? Pie Trainer. I didn't really agree with Pie Trainer being on the list of guys who, I mean, the worst, I suppose you could say by WAR. They are technically the worst, but but the inference that maybe that Pie Trainer didn't belong, and here also that Lou Brock doesn't really belong, I don't know. I don't think I go along with that. Number 11 is a guy who was put in recently, and he was put in by the Veterans Committee, and I'm talking, of course, about Jack Morris, who was very outspoken about the fact that he should be in the Hall of Fame, even though he admittedly let his foot off the pedal when he was in a game where Detroit was killing the other team, and he wouldn't go for strikeouts. He wouldn't go for, he would loosen up a little bit, basically, because he could afford to. Well, that's nice, but is that going to get you in the Hall of Fame? And with him, it only barely did, and that's because of the Veterans Committee. He pitched for 18 seasons. Per 162 games, he was 16-12 with a 3.90 earned run average, which is the worst of any pitcher in the Hall of Fame. So I think it might be justified that he's even on this list, or that he is on this list. And 242 innings pitched. And again, he was inducted in 2018 by the Veterans Committee. So I don't know, I could see maybe Jack Morris not being there. And obviously, if this is the list of the 25 worst players in the Hall of Fame, well, by ERA, he's the worst starter in the Hall of Fame. So anyway, that brings us to number 10, and that will be second baseman Bill Mazeroski, who played for the Pirates for 17 seasons. Per 162 games, he hit .260 with just 10 home runs, 64 RBIs, and 2 stolen bases. His lifetime WAR was a 2.74, and he had 2 World Series titles. One, most notably, that was in 1960 when he hit the walk-off winning home run in Game 7 against the Yankees. And he was inducted in 2001 by the Veterans Committee. Didn't get in, during the regular time, probably because those offensive statistics, 260 batting average, 10 home runs, and 64 RBIs, are nothing all that special. Though he was a glove man at second. He was probably one of the better second basemen defensively in the Hall of Fame, and probably in the history of baseball. So, I guess you would have to say he's pretty much got in there because of his defensive prowess and one very memorable home run. So, I don't know. Number 9 is pitcher Early Wynn. 23 seasons, per 162 games, he was 16-13 with a 3.54 earned run average and 238 innings pitched, and he had a 2.69 lifetime WAR. And again, Early Wynn, I think, was also another guy that was on the White Sox. A lot of White Sox on this list that could be booted. Well, really, they can't be, but I guess if Paul Ledusky had his way, they would be. Number 8, and I totally agree with this one, and I think everybody knows this one. Rabbit Marinville, shortstop, second baseman, most notably for the Boston Braves. 23 seasons, and per 162 games, he hit .258 with 2 home runs, 54 RBIs, and 18 stolen bases, with a 2.60 WAR. He had 1 World Series title, and that was in 1914, and that was during the war, and that's really the only reason that the Boston Braves were in the World Series that year. And he had a career .318 on base percentage. But according to most historians for the time, he was one of the best defensive shortstops that played. Maybe the best of his time, and potentially one of the best in the Hall of Fame. So, again, another guy right after, and ironically, like 2 players after Bill Mazeroski, another guy that got in, primarily because of his defense. Number 7 is pitcher Jesse Haynes, who, among other teams, I believe, pitched for the St. Louis Cardinals. He pitched 19 seasons. Per 162 games, he was 15-11 with a 3.64 earned run average and a 2.59 WAR. He pitched 242 innings per 162 games, and he had 2 World Series titles, which came in 1926 and 1934. So, 15-11. Again, the earned run average, 3.64, is a little high. And 15-11, he played on some good Cardinals teams, so you would expect him to have at least a decent win-loss record. And then we go to number 6, and the final guy that I will discuss in this video, and that's first baseman George Kelly, who played 16 seasons, and per 162 games, he hit .297 with 15 homers, 102 RBIs, and 6 stolen bases. He had a lifetime 2.53 WAR, and some critics of George Kelly in the Hall of Fame consider him to be the worst player in the Hall of Fame, although Paul Ledusky said he wasn't willing to go there. Although, as a first baseman, again, first base is an offensive position, an offensive-driven position, because defense at first base isn't considered to be as important as it is at shortstop or second. So, with that being an offensive-driven position and a .297 batting average and 15 home runs as his average season, again, there's probably a lot of first basemen in the Hall that are better than that guy. So, anyway, that's the list of 15 through 6. Tomorrow, or maybe later tonight, or shortly, or whatever, the next video will be 5 through 1, so you don't want to miss that. But in the meantime, what do you guys think? Leave me a note. Let me know. Is there somebody so far that you don't think should be on this list, or somebody that you think definitely should be on this list and you're thinking maybe he's not going to be in the top 5? Again, I have a person that I believe should be on the list, and I will let you know that in the last video in the series. But, let me know what you think. Hit the bell so that you're notified when I have new videos out. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. A lot of good stuff coming out in the next few months, and I will talk to you later. It's Sportsman Z, Bob Zuhlke, signing off.